The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, Chicago, and good morning to the world. Welcome to the Lightning Strike. With me in the studios today, Ken DeLuke.
Howdy, folks.
And also joining us on the phone, Reed Bible, all the way from Nevada, I guess, right?
Yep.
Good morning, Reed. Okay, while we're waiting for Reed to connect, I'd like to welcome our producer for our segment of the week, Dr. Sheila White. Good morning, Sheila. Okay, Sheila is also connecting. We are just getting into the swing of the show, and we are going to be.
Good morning.
Today. Hey, good morning, Reed. Today is the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder, folks, and remember 9 minutes on his neck. And Reed would be doing a deep dive into that at about 9:20, 9:23. Reed will be talking about that. We also have Congresswoman Marie Newman joining us today, and she's going to be talking about this big, beautiful, bad bill that Congress just came up with. And Marie is going to be doing a deep dive on that one. But let me just bring in our person of the week to start the show off. This is Dr. Sheila White. Sheila, good morning.
Good morning, Mohammed. Good morning, team. I am really excited about our person of the week this morning. Her name is Jamie Little, and she has an awesome story and something that she's doing in the Chicagoland area. I'll say it that way. It's called Pies for Eyes, and I would like to welcome Jamie this morning to tell us a little bit about her story.
Hi, I'm here.
Good morning, Jamie.
How are you?
I'm good. You got about 150,000 people listening to you right now.
Oh, well, our Pies for Eyes, it all started with a chef, Charlie. Our cordon bleu trained chef lost his vision while he had a stroke while working for me. And we found in his blind school, he relearned how to do everything again and still be just this amazing chef. Blind. And while he was at the Lighthouse Vision School in Chicago, he found out about this vision system called Iris Vision. There's several different kinds, but they will take that tiny little bit that you have of vision left and will help, almost like a VR headset. The computer will help you see everything again. It's like a miracle, but they're very expensive. And when his pair was stolen at one point, the town, our awesome town, helped us raise money. We did with key lime pies. So we sold these key lime pies, and we raised enough money to buy not just a vision system for him, but also 3 children. And they can be anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a piece. That's a lot of pies. So now we do it. This was just our 4th year doing it. And awesome. The more money we raise, 100%, all of it goes to buying these vision systems for kids. And we were hooked the minute we saw this little girl see her parents for the first time in her life. And, yeah,
and the technology. What's the technology behind it? You know, I mean, is it just a visual stimulus? Is there something else that is incorporated in there to give them that functionality?
It's just this. It looks like really thick Oakley sunglasses now. I mean, the technology has gotten better over the past few years from when we first started. Before, it looked like a very big VR headset, and now it looks just like, these thick kind of Oakleys. And they're not as heavy. But yeah, they'll take because most people that are blind have some sort of vision, something like Charlie has 30% of part of his peripheral, and that's it. And it takes that little tiny bit that you do have, and the computer makes it so you can see everything again in these glasses. They're amazing. And these little kids that we get them for, it will hook you because the little girl, the first time I saw this happen, I was crying, and Channel 7 News was there when we gave her the system, and she put it on for the first time. She was able to see, she knew who her parents were. She never had seen them, actually seen them. And she knew who they were right away. It's a miracle.
Oh boy, Jamie, you are the best. Folks, Jamie Little is the owner of Mojo's, one of the best Cajun food restaurants in the Chicagoland area, not just Plainfield. And Jamie makes the most awesome bread pudding, right, Jamie?
Oh my God, the bread pudding cures all problems. It will make you forget any problem you have.
Yep, and whenever we have any kind of event, Jamie kindly brings her bread pudding to share with us. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. Great story. Folks, Pies for Eyes. And if someone wants to order those pies or get a pie donated, take it home, Jamie, how do they do that?
If you call the restaurant, or you can even call me, we will take any donations. The number is 815-230-2790, and 100% of it goes to these kids for Charlie.
Awesome. Sheila, thank you so much for bringing in great guests on the show, as always.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And folks, that is Dr. Sheila White bringing in our Person of the Week. If you would like to be featured as a guest or a Person of the Week on the show, feel free to please send us an email. Go to our website, which is tlschicago.com. And Dr. White would reach out to you and schedule you to come on as a guest. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the program after that with some very, very interesting topics, and especially the big bad bill that Congress just approved 2015-2014, and it's going up to the Senate. We need to fight back on that. We'll take a quick break and be back on the other side of the break.
Have no fear with regard.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. Mohammed Fahim in the studios with me here, Ken DeLuke. Dr. Sheila White, our segment producer, has been on the phone. We also have Read Bible joining us shortly, and Maria Muzaffar will be joining in with her segment on Breaking the Echo Chamber. But right now, we'd like to welcome Congresswoman Marie Newman to join us on the show today. Good morning, Marie.
Good morning.
So the big, beautiful, bad bill finally managed to squeeze through Congress, Marie. What say you?
So upset. I can't imagine celebrating like the GOP is, kind of universally the idea that You're going to be starving children, taking health care away from 14 million people. And then there's all the hidden things, like it allows, moving forward, it would prevent Trump from being prosecuted for contempt. I mean, there's a million little things in there that are beyond fascist. So it's a sad day.
Yep, it is so upsetting, Marie, to have these people take away food from starving children. They're going to be cutting off, Medicaid. They're going to be cutting off food stamp benefits, and the average family who's making less than $17,000 are going to be losing about $700 per year. Is that number correct?
They said 2% increase for anybody who's in the lower income stretch. If you're making over $400,000, you're going to get an average, or $4 million. I'm sorry. If you make over $4 million, you're going to get an average benefit of about $400,000. So almost 10% to the plus side for the upper 0.1%.
So,
Yeah.
Marie, my question to you as a congresswoman, former congresswoman now, why are these people so capitulating to Donald Trump? I mean, what hold does he have on them? Except for, I believe, 2 Republican Congress people. The rest of them all went along and said, yes, sir, Heil Hitler. So what's up?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things going on. I think we've all seen the Lisa Murkowski video from now. I can't remember which news show, but she admitted, "Look, I'm afraid. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers threaten me and my family every day." So anybody that is the least bit vulnerable to a primary, they are holding hostage to. So all of these GOP members in the House have said, you know what, it's not worth either being primaried or having my family in jeopardy. And it's a combination of threats. So it's real simple. It's like the most basic of bully tactics. I am going to threaten you, but I follow through on my threats, and everybody knows I follow through on my threats. So it's as simple as that. I'll either get primaried or my family will get hurt.
That, folks, is sad. If you want to jump in the conversation, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. We are speaking with Congresswoman Marie Newman. And the fight that we have to put up, Marie, you were talking about something happening on June 14th also in the last conversation that we had. Would you mind expanding a little bit on what's going to be happening on June 14th?
Sure. Indivisible and Project 5051, Move On, and several other organizations have put together a really wonderful, what is known as a general strike, where everybody ascends to the streets and really gets loud and active. It's called No King's Day, but it's honestly, we all have so much to gripe about. It could be on any topic right now, but it is meant to get everybody out in the streets. And I really encourage everybody that's listening right this second to really put that on your calendar right now and do whatever you can. There will be locations everywhere. All you have to do is Google June 14th or No King's Day. Now, simultaneously, and the irony of this is the day that Trump is having his kind of North Korea-style military parade. It is also his birthday. So if you want to protest all of the horrifying things that Trump has done, or the GOP-led Congress has done, or because it's his birthday, or because of the military parade, get out there and show them your stuff.
Yep, and the military parade, folks, Trump kind of fancies himself to be a King Jong-un or whatever that Korean kid's name is, and he wants to display to America the power of the presidency, not the power of our military. And we've got to come out and protest. That's the only way that we can. And the best way that we can protest, Marie, is go out, register to vote, and make sure that we kick out all of these MAGA idiots, for lack of a better word, the next time elections roll around in 2026.
And can I just share one reason why you should do that in addition to many? So you should get out because we have to get rid of this lunatic in the White House and some of the lunatics in Congress. But the other reason is we just got the Catalyst and the Pew data back. They came back and they do a huge meta study, and it is very clear. It was kind of theorized before, but now it's very clear in the data that new voters, meaning voters that were new to voting in 2024, are the ones that put Trump over the edge. So those that go out and register to vote now, you can be one of those new voters to vote for sanity and normalcy and goodness in America. So be a new voter, register to vote right now.
Marie, I have a quick question. What do you think the odds are that this big, beautiful bill is going to pass the Senate?
I think it's going to get revised in the Senate. I think there will be some revisions that will be very welcome, but it won't be enough. I think some of these severe Medicaid cuts that affect over 14 million people in our country will likely stay in place, and I think a lot of the SNAP, the food assistance cuts, will stay in place. Some of the super crazy stuff that's embedded in there might not make it through all the way. So what I'm praying for is that I think there's over 20 senators that will be up for election in 26. I'm hoping some of those Republicans realize, wow, like Joni Ernst in Iowa, she's down a couple points right now against the Democrat. I hope she gets some sense and starts to stand up to this guy. So it will be very interesting to see, but there will be some minor revisions probably to it. I'm hoping there will be major. I hope we have a full-on set of conscience comes up with these folks, and they all decide, wow, I should really do the right thing here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Marie. It's not just the lunatic in the White House. It is the tick on top of the lunatic's head that is making him take all those decisions, right? Okay. Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you for joining us. You're always welcome to chime in anytime that you want. We'll take a quick break and come back on the other side of the break with Read Bible to talk about George Floyd. It's the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's untimely murder by this policeman. And, just imagine having someone's, foot on your leg, on your neck for 9 minutes while you're pleading that I can't breathe. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. This is The Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim, with Ken DeLuke in the studios with me today.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. Mohammed Fahim here in the studios with Ken DeLuke and Dr. Sheila White, our segment producer, always brings in some great guests. And today's special guest for us, our person of the week, was Jamie Little, owner of Mojo's Asian Restaurant in Plainfield. And now let's go to Read Bible, a supervisory special agent retired from DHS and a retired attorney and a former retired member of the Will County Board also. Good morning, Reed.
Good morning, Mohammed. Good morning, Ken. And good morning to our listeners. I hope that you're all enjoying the Memorial Day weekend and what it means. As you mentioned, Mohammed.
Reed, talking about Memorial Day weekend, most people don't know what is the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. This was a question that my daughter came up to me the other day and said, Dad, what is the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day? So, for those of you who don't know the difference, folks, Memorial Day is to remember all of those people who have died in service to our country. And Veterans Day is to celebrate all those who have died and who are still alive. So to celebrate our veterans who have passed on and who are still alive. So that's the difference. It's not just the start of summer, as most people seem to think, including my friend over here, Ken DeLuke, in the studios today. Okay. Reed, go ahead, please.
Thank you for that, Mohammed. As you mentioned, it was 5 years ago today that George Floyd was murdered by Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. This is particularly important to me to discuss because I feel a personal connection with it. It happened in the neighborhood in which I grew up in Minneapolis, and my cousin was chief of the Minneapolis Police Department at the time. Floyd was asphyxiated to death when Chauvin placed his knee on the throat of Floyd for over 9 minutes, Mohammed. While Floyd was handcuffed, he laid face down on the ground and was crying out that he couldn't breathe, and he called out for his mom. And this egregious act of excessive, lethal use of force by police must be remembered, and it must be discussed, along with the purpose of consent decrees as a means to prevent such acts from happening in the future. The incident occurred in South Minneapolis at a convenience store where it was thought that Floyd had paid for an item with a counterfeit $20 bill, and the clerk called the police on him. Lethal force has been used in the Twin Cities for, both before and after Floyd, unfortunately. I recall the incident with Philando Castile in 2016 and with Dante Wright in 2021. Both were killed during traffic stops. In the case of Dante, the police officer that stopped him was actually the training officer for the police department in Brooklyn Center, a suburb of Minneapolis, and she went to grab supposedly her taser, but she pulled out her firearm and killed Mr. Wright instead.
Yeah, I mean, Reed, how can anyone mistake a taser for a firearm? Okay, I mean, I'm licensed. I carry firearms with me. Okay, and there's a huge difference between a taser and a firearm. There's no way that this lady could have mistaken her taser for a firearm, especially if she is a trained police officer.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And she's the training officer, post academy training officer. So that's what's so incredible about this, Mohammed. And then further context with this: Floyd's death took place within 2 months after the death of Breonna Taylor. That Louisville medical worker that happened as a result of plainclothes police officers using excessive force to enter her apartment to execute a search warrant for drugs. And you might recall in that incident, Taylor's boyfriend was inside and heard no knock at the door, so he thought that the apartment was being broken into by intruders. He fired a warning shot, and of course there was return fire where officers just fired into the darkness, striking and killing the sleeping Breonna Taylor. She was in her bed asleep when this happened. We need consent decrees, and we need them improved. And a lot of people may not know what a consent decree is, Mohammed, but what they are settlements between the U.S. Department of Justice and municipal police departments that are intended to effect reform when it has been established after an investigation that a systemic pattern and practice of racial discrimination in police operations exists in violation of civil rights. Now, usually these decrees are administered by federal judges, and compliance is assessed by an independent monitor. And they focus, again, on excessive force or negligence on the part of the police. Examples of excessive force are obvious: asphyxiation, beatings, shootings, improper takedowns, racially motivated violence, unwarranted use of tasers, batons, and more. So this is all excessive force in most cases, folks. And the Department of Justice was authorized back in 1994 under the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act to create these consent decrees, which allow for civil investigation by the DOJ, Department of Justice, to determine whether there is, in fact, systemic police misconduct in any of America's 1,800 police departments. This federal oversight of police departments is performed over a period of years to hold police departments accountable and individual officers, especially when their actions are predicated upon race, ethnicity, or religion. And they don't require admissions of guilt on the part of the police department, but they do require the police departments to commit to specific goals of reform that are investigated and intended to protect the public safety, but they're not intended to attack the police department. A lot of police departments seem to feel that they're being attacked. That's not the point of these. It's to protect the public safety. So,
okay, Reed, thank you. Thank you so much for educating us. I mean, most people don't understand the difference between what you're talking about. So, great information. I want to wind up with a question for you. When we have you work for the Department of Homeland Security, and now our current Secretary for Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, has no idea what habeas corpus means. Would you mind explaining us about that in like 15 seconds?
Yeah, that's a common law, Old English common law principle that the government is required to show probable cause for the detention and arrest of somebody who's being accused of a crime. You're required the government to show that what the basis is for that arrest, and if they can't, they must let that person go. So literally it means bring the body forward, and so there can be a public hearing to...
And our Secretary of Homeland Security has no idea what the phrase means. She went on rambling about how it means that the president has the power to do blah, 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 blah. Come on, what kind of dystopian world are we living in, folks? Remember what Murray Newman said, June 14th, be prepared to come out. And on that note...
they're using Dictionary 2.0.
Yeah, 2.0. Reed, thank you so much. Please stay online. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side of the break with Maria Muzaffar with Breaking the Echo Chamber.
Have no fear with regard to renewable energy. If you own property, either residential or commercial, in Northern Illinois, you most likely qualify for massive federal, state, and utility incentives. Grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down this number, 630-785-0031. You can have a no-cost, no-obligation conversation with a ComEd green light expert that can help you figure out which incentives you qualify for. Again, call 630-785-0031 for a free, no-cost, no-obligation assessment. 630-785-0031.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. With me in the studios today, Ken DeLuke. Maria Muzaffar will be joining us shortly on the line. Ken.
Yes, Maria, what you got for us today?
Good morning, Maria.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you all hear me? Happy Memorial Day to all of you. What do we have today? Well, let me just say this. I think there's two significant things that we need to point out from the guests that just came in before. One is that we specifically have tried to break down what this big bill is about. And I think there's a lot of opposition. There's a lot of opposition of understanding where the Medicaid hits will hit. But I will say this. Along with the idea of protesting, the whole concept of breaking the echo chamber on policy is where do we go beyond protesting? So we have to really understand why the Medicaid cuts, how do they actually impact people, but in a way to understand why people would actually support it. What actually tells these candidates and these elected officials from the Republican Party to stand behind these cuts? And I understand that, I love that there was a reality check on the fact that a lot of these elected officials are also protecting their jobs. They're getting bullied. But the reality is, if they are getting bullied for their positions and their stances, how are they doing their jobs? How are they doing their jobs? What is the position that they're in to protect the interests of the American people if they're being bullied and they're being controlled and voted a certain way. So then we go into, are we protesting the fact that they can't do their jobs, or are we protesting the policies? We cannot protest any of these policies in the big budget bill unless we have something more appealing to offer. So my question always comes to be, we analyze the policies that one party puts forth, one administration is executing on. They have a plan, but what is the alternative? What is the plan to protect these policies in a way that help the American people? I mean, if you look at the fact that we have been protesting in so many different ways for so many different issues across the country, including students who are being profiled and deported, what are the protests resulting in? So 100% protests are significant. They're important. We need to get out there on both sides of the aisle when you have an issue. But we have to come down to the reality that unless we have a policy that can have an alternative that we're pushing, we're going to be really in a cyclical situation where we're constantly protecting interests without providing solutions. I will say this, and this connects the issue of George Floyd's anniversary. Number one, if you look at the Medicaid cuts and you think about the policies that are being implemented that actually impact humans, I want to reaffirm this very clearly. In ER rooms across the country in hospitals, there are individuals that cannot afford emergency services. And when you have situations like that, what can you do within your hospital administration when you have individuals that come in that just don't have any option? And now with the cuts that the ERs won't even be funded properly, how do we actually address those issues? And that comes down to the people in the leadership positions that are impacted by these policies. Where are the CEOs of the hospitals? Where are the people that are speaking up for individuals that are serving patients? What are the doctors speaking out and saying, what can we actually change in these policies and in operating rooms and in the OR that will help these patients fight against the cuts of Medicaid? And that's what we need to see. Protesting has its place, but if we don't have our experts stepping up on both sides of the aisle, talking about how systematically this is damaging, we're not going to go forward. And I want to tie that to George Floyd's anniversary, because what happened with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Mr. Wright, was not something that was unfortunately unique. Police brutality has been happening in so many silent corridors of streets where nobody is looking, okay? This has been happening consistently when the Democrats were also in the administration. I mean, if you even look at Illinois alone, almost about 10 years ago, I don't know what the recent statistic is, but 82.1 arrest rate for the same crime, black to white, was what the statistic was. And so when you look at these types of policies, including food deserts, including health ambulance deserts, you know, there are areas in Illinois where ambulances can't get the communities. This is happening when the Democrats had the administration at the federal level. So we need to understand that we can't get swayed by the fact of who is in office, but what policies are being pushed and who was silent on the other end when the one party was pushing against something that was cutting services and has been cutting services for years beyond presidential administrations. So I think that is very, very critical. And I think what we're going to see here is actually this bleed down, that the only way we're going to be able to argue better policy is if we understand the human impact of all of these policies. I want to end with this. I just read yesterday a story about a 19-year-old student who was stopped for making a wrong turn at a traffic stop. She was not driving with her license. She was a teenager, not good decisions, of course. And then she has now been taken up by ICE. Okay, this is a 19-year-old girl who was brought to the U.S. when she was 4. So what is the future of her life? What is her specific crime as a 4-year-old? And what policies were taking place before the Republican administration that made this possible? So let's not forget, these things were happening before, but now we're highlighting them in a fortunate way, where we're understanding the human impact. And I think that is the echo chamber we have to break, that this is not just a political issue of what party is pushing it. It's the fact that what policies have been allowed to exist and then capitalize on in the future because people basically passed the buck when it was effective.
Right, Maria, thank you so much. And as far as that 19-year-old is concerned, I believe the policeman who arrested her has resigned. And
yes.
There is approximately $700 billion in federal Medicaid funding that is going to be cut over the next 10 years. Now, this is one of the largest cuts in the program's history. Now, the estimates from the Congressional Budget Office and other analysts are projecting that these cuts could mean 7.6 to 9 million Americans losing their Medicaid health coverage. And that is no joke. And as far as why aren't the hospital CEOs and others rising up to protest or to say something about it, the problem is that most of these medical institutions are now being run not by doctors, but by corporate money pinchers and money crunchers, basically. So these are the MBAs who are coming in and running these medical practices. It's no longer serving humanity. On that note, folks, that is Maria Muzaffar. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back on the other side of the break with more programmings.
Have no fear with regard.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning, 9 to 10 on WCPT, Chicago's premier progressive talk radio station. And you can listen to us worldwide on the station's Facebook page or on heartlandsignal.com. With me in the studio is Ken DeLuke.
Howdy, folks. Now, I give up. I'm going to jump ship. I'm going over to the MAGA side.
Oh, wow.
I just, I'm just overwhelmed by all this stuff that I'm seeing.
Bring my taser out?
Well, no, it's something I got to do, and how I'm very enthusiastic about getting behind stuff I support, and I figure, okay, now that I'm going to be on the MAGA side, how can I best support our orange God? Well, let me think. I know what he likes. He likes to name stuff after him. He's got Trump steaks, Trump vodka, Trump Tower, Trumposaurus if it was a dinosaur. He's got a lot of Trump things, so I'm going to do something that's going to really help him.
Hey,
you know how he's having a big...
Every single one of them failed, though.
Oh, well, no, this is going to be a winner. Trust me here.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to need everyone's help. So when you get done listening to this, share this on your social media, because we want to help Trump take command of something he loves. He loves tariffs. Tariffs is the best thing he's ever heard of. Oh, my God. The tariff is the do-all, win-all of the whole world. Anything that has to do with a tariff is going to make America great again. So I'm going to say, Don, I got an idea for you. I'm going to help you take your tariff, and you can be as proud as you can be by it. We're going to call it TFIST, which is an acronym that says Trump's federal sales tax. Yeah, Trump's federal sales tax. Let's call it that. Every time you say tariff, forget the word tariff. Just think Trump's federal sales tax. Now, everyone loves to pay federal sales tax, right? It brings down the deficit. It just costs us more money, but who needs $30 when you can have 3? Or who needs 20 pencils when you can have 5? Trump's federal sales tax. TFST. So share that. Let your friends know. Anytime you hear the word tariff, they say something about a tariff. Oh, do you mean Trump's federal sales tax? Yeah, I've heard about that. Let's make that go viral, okay, guys? Oh, now, show on the line right now, our science, technology, and environmental segment producer, Carl Moose. Carl, what do you got for us today?
Hey, Carl, good morning.
Hey, guys. Yes, good morning, everybody. Ken, that's going to be a hard one to follow up with, so I love that one.
Okay.
But, hello. And I just want to say, happy Memorial Day weekend. This is the weekend to really remember those that have passed for our freedom. But anyway, the big, beautiful bill. What does this really mean? I don't know in the big picture, but here's what I do know. If you start cutting funding and investment for renewable energy projects, which is the segment of the market that I'm in, in my business, that's just going to slow things down. No doubt about that. And it trickles down to people that own their own home, possibly people that own their business that, want to, get away from dependence on fossil fuels, right, and want to implement a renewable strategy for their business or for their home. And, when you start cutting funding for these types of investment, it has a trickle-down effect in a lot of different ways. Regulatory support. If there's no support for, for advanced regulations and progressive regulations with regard to renewable energy, projects are going to get stalled. They're not going to progress. They're going to die on the vine. The other big thing is the infrastructure. For any of you that know me, I talk about the grid. Our electric grid is well over, 50, 60, 70 years old, with major improvements required. And if there's no money to make those infrastructure improvements, that's a problem because, we're using more and more energy. There's more and more people using more and more energy, and the infrastructure is stressed. So, when you start cutting funding for that, that's a problem. The other thing is job creations. When renewable energy projects go by the wayside, people that are, in that industry that actually develop and they build and they design and install these systems, it has an impact on them. So, these are a lot of the trickle-down effects. And, of course, the environmental side of the equation. Burning, and you've heard me say this before, digging up 600 million-year-old plants and animals that derive their energy from the sun 600 million years ago. To create energy is just not a good winning strategy. So when you start to move away from renewable energy by cutting funding for this stuff, it can become a big problem. So, and those are some of the things. I don't believe the Senate's passed this yet. It's probably going to, they're obviously going to modify the bill, but the way it stands right now, there's some big cuts with regard to renewable energy projects.
My whole thing is, why did the House even pass this monstrosity of a bill? What happened to the spine of all the Republicans except for two? I mean, what are these guys doing, Carl? I'm unable to understand. Folks, it's not so much about Republicans or Democrats. It's about us as Americans. Why are we not stepping up? So next time 2026 rolls around, elections are there, please make sure that we hold these people accountable for their actions. Sue Fitzsimmons has been following us on the Facebook live page. Sue says that the DNC must vet their candidates better. Sue, I totally agree with you. And the DNC has to make sure that they bring out the right candidates. I mean, the DNC leadership right now sucks. Not just what Sue Fitzsimmons said about Kristi Noem said, suck it. Kristi Noem had no idea about what habeas corpus is. And this woman is supposed to have been an attorney general and a governor at some time in her life. This is the kind of leadership. And the Democratic Party really has to step up its game, folks. And we are going to be holding them very, very, very accountable going forward. That's what progressive Democrats are all about. Carl, thank you so much for joining us. We got Ron from Michigan calling in. Let's see what Ron has to say. Ron, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Lightning Strike. You are one of our most favorite listeners all the way from Michigan. Good morning. Sorry, Ron, you're cutting in and out.
Hello, Mohammed.
Hey, good morning.
Mohammed, good morning.
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you about the support that veterans and, yes, and even active duty soldiers have for Trump. And it's being fed by, at least in the case of Vietnam veterans, which I'm one of, it's the unwillingness to recognize our Vietnam involvement was wrong. And an example of that is just the 50-year anniversary of Vietnam defeating us in Vietnam. There's the Trump administration refusing to go there and participate in the events, and which goes back to rewriting history that the Trump administration is about, and erasing the real history of our country, of the contribution of Black Americans and Asian Americans and other minorities in this country, and being replaced by white Afrikaner racist policies that go back to our slave days, plain and simple. And the policy that they are carrying out worldwide is starving the poor of the world, which this administration, in many cases, is responsible for putting those people in those situations, and it's just plain genocide on our part of the Trump administration, and it's trickling down right now to America, and I see that it's slightly with.
Thank you so much for your comments, man. I hope more people get up and realize that we as a country are failing the rest of the world that depends on us. Just imagine, folks, for 1 second, 2 people get killed by a lunatic in New York recently, 2 Jewish young people, right? This guy from Chicago goes out there, blows them away, and says, "Free Palestine." Now, most people don't understand that that is something that should not have happened in our country. Okay, we strongly condemn what happened. But why isn't our media also talking about the more than 50,000 people killed by American bombs in Gaza? And why are we not speaking about that? Why are we not holding our leadership accountable for that also? That war too is something that we should not have got into or supported in any way. What do you say, Ron?
I totally agree with you, Mohammed. And also the fact that we are starving right now. Our policy is starving those people to death because we agree with Israel's genocidal plan right now, which is the only way you can describe it. And
they allowed a few trucks to trickle in, about 10 trucks loaded with fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and fresh food. And as soon as those trucks delivered and got out of there, the Israeli helicopters and planes bombed that place to smithereens. They gave a last meal to these people before they killed hundreds of them. And this is our money. Our president is so brave when he holds up the South African president hostage in the White House and plays all kinds of videos that most of them have been doctored. Why didn't he have the guts to stand up to Mr. Netanyahu when he comes over here and holds him down and beats him up and goes back with more 2,000-pound Buster bunker bombs from us? Why not?
I totally agree with you, Mohammed. And, just go back a week to remember the aid workers, the Palestinian aid workers that were sent on an emergency call in the middle of the night, and it was an ambush by the Israeli military and just wiped them out. And the father was supposed to be on that massacred team, but his son went because the father was sick. Oh, could you imagine? Oh, the treachery. It's on both sides, but
it's mind-boggling, the hypocrisy of our leadership. We got Roosevelt on the line. Ron, thank you so much for your call.
You're
we'll
welcome,
take one from Roosevelt and be sure to listen in and spread the word out. Roosevelt, good morning. You are on the lightning strike.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. Roosevelt, thank you so much for holding on throughout the break. You are on the Lightning Strike. Roosevelt, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for taking my call.
Anytime.
I want to thank the veterans for their ultimate sacrifice, and to you guys for bringing it up, callers. So just want to pay my respect.
Well, thank you so much, Roosevelt. And, we need more people like you, man. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. This is something that we have been preaching for the last year and a half that we've been on the air.
Yeah, well, thank you, guys. Two subjects. Mainly the one I want to bring up is the media. So far, Kristi Noem altering photographs of the fingers of, she didn't answer the questions in front of Congress.
Yeah, yep.
And one of our own, Delia Ramirez, took her to task and asked for her immediate resignation. I don't know if you saw the video.
I did. I actually wanted to play the audio today, but we are running out of time, so we'll probably play it next weekend.
And that's my point. Where's the media when all these? I mean, Trump just had the South African president with a pictures of something that was 5 years old through other medias. So they constantly, lie. And that's my point. Where's the media in all this? And do you guys remember when the president of Ukraine was in the White House, and Miller told Trump, "You won 9-0 as far as the Supreme Court with the gentleman Garcia to come back from."
And that was
to bring him back.
Total lie, 100% lie.
Exactly.
And remember one thing also, Roosevelt, that Zelensky came in his usual dress to the White House, and here we have, what's his name, Trump's tick in the year, standing over there in casual clothes with his son, calling Trump names in the White House. And then Trump goes to the Middle East begging the Saudis for money, and the Saudis are wearing their ethnic clothes, not even shoes. I put up a picture on Facebook with the Saudi prince. They're sitting over there casually in slippers. That's how they normally dress. No comment from the media. No comment from Trump. Okay? And our president is selling the presidency with his meme coin things. If you remember the dinner that happened recently for all the people that have bought his so-called meme coin currency, they were invited for a special dinner with the president. On that note, folks, we are running out of time today. Thank you so much for listening. Happy Memorial Day. Please remember, it is not just a holiday. We have to pay respect to those who fought for our freedom and the country that we are today. This is Mohammed Fahim with Kendi Luke, Sheila White, Maria Muzaffar, Carl Moose, and